Welcome to the Sharp Way Show. I am very happy to have you here this evening with me today. And what I love is I'm doing what people are asking. People have been asking me for an AMA and ask me anything. So I said, why not? Why don't I do that? And I'm doing it because next week I'm going to be over at Freedom Fest in Memphis, Tennessee. I thought I'm not going to have many shows, so maybe I should do an AMA before I go. I thought might be a pretty good thing to do. So I am doing that. Today is the AMA, and I wanted to kick it off if I could. Well, I think I want to kick it off with the idea of Independence Day, only because I brought it up about a week ago or so, and I kind of want to bring up the idea of what does it mean to you? Because we think of independence as freedom. Usually it's a common thing, right? We're independent, we are now free. But many of you know my story about the idea of us kind of becoming our father. It's a common thing I use on Independence Day, a story I tell, I should say. And I do it because most of us have forgotten this. And it happens as we get older. I'm sure many of you, maybe if you're listening or watching now, have thought to yourself at one point, I'm not going to be like my dad, or I'm not going to be like my mom, or something like that, or something that your mom or dad did you didn't like, and you were never going to copy that ever, and you were going to be different, right? That was something you thought about. And you found yourself years later doing exactly what your mom or dad did, copying them completely, not even realizing when you've done it. And then you have an excuse as to why it's okay now, right now, because you're doing it, that thing that you thought was terrible that your mom or dad did, it's okay now because you've come up with a reason why it's okay for you. I think we've done the same thing. I think as Americans, when we left the British Empire, it was because taxation without representation, which we have now all the time, right? We do it all the time. We do it with people who are prisoners. I'm sorry, not prisoners, felons who can't vote but have to pay taxes. Literally taxation without representation. Don't get me wrong. While you're in prison, I get why you're not voting. I'm not against that. But once you're done paying your debt to society and you're back out, you've done your time, shouldn't you vote again? A lot of states would say no. A lot of people would say no. And I say they're wrong. That's taxation without representation. All of DC, right? And people always say all the time, well, we care about DC whenever they care about changing the Senate. Okay, then just break up DC and give it to states. I don't care. The point is those people in DC who live there, they are being taxed without representation. We don't care about that. We have to have a problem. Either make DC a state or crack up DC and give a chunk to each of the local states, and then you don't change the Senate, but they all get votes. I don't care. Give these people voting rights. They don't have that. Right now, the British Empire, there was a saying, the British Empire, the sun never sets on the British Empire because it was so vast that the sun was always up at some part in the world. And yeah, that's true with the American Empire. We have become our father, right? We have become our father. That's an issue. And it bothers me that we have done that in so many different ways. As we fought in Afghanistan like our father. We fight in the Middle East like our father did, right? We have an empire like our father did. The British Navy was the greatest in the world. Now ours is. We have become our father in almost every way. And it is a problem. We really should be able to handle these things. And we don't. And we should be looking at Independence Day by trying to become more independent. Becoming like, when we were younger in our youth, more aggressive, more forward, more about freedom. And we haven't. So let me grab a couple of questions and comments if I could. This is an AMA, so let me grab some of those. Jameer says, I love you, Larry. Larry, show up for God. Thank you, Jameer. I appreciate that so much. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. Patricia asked the question, Larry, do you eat the lime when you finish a Corona? For most of you who may know my my lifestyle or whatever, I don't drink. So I don't have Coronas. I am one of the people who, I will say this, The only people more squarer than I am are maybe Mormons. That's about it, because Mormons don't use caffeine, and I definitely use caffeine. That's for sure. So I use caffeine. Mormons don't. So they got me beat. They're more square than I am. But that's actually the only drug that I use. And you might go, oh my God, Larry, you're the guy who's like, let people smoke weed. Because I'm a libertarian, and you should do you. And if you like Coronas, then you should drink Coronas. And if you like weed, you should smoke weed or whatever. Just don't bother me, and we're all good. So the answer is no, but because I don't have Coronas. So yes. That libertarian lady asked, when's the next scheduled debate with all libertarians running for nomination? It was supposed to be this month. I have changed it. It probably won't go till next month. And the reason is I'm trying to find the exact appropriate venue with the right co-moderators. I don't want to do just another online debate, which is actually a forum. I want to do it in a good place, and it's been challenging finding it. And one of the reasons is so many of the other people who've jumped on board have sucked so much of the air out of the room. So many people who would want to jump on us are now going, well, wait, can you get RFK or Vivek or can you get Cornel West? A lot of them are kind of jumping in the way. So we're going to make it happen, libertarian lady, we will. But I hope next week. So yes. Alfred says he agrees with me. I think he means on the prisoner. Once they get out, they should be able to vote, which I agree completely, right? Not while you're in prison. I get that completely. You are being punished. You are losing your rights because you violated someone else's rights, in theory at least. So I get that. But once you're done, you paid your debt. You should get all your rights back. You're done. You paid your debt. You're out of jail. Yes, he goes on to say, DC, what about Guam, bro? Here's my exception, the reason why I'm okay with Guam, Alfred, because Guam has decided this voluntarily. Guam does not want to be a state. Neither does Puerto Rico, right? So they're choosing. They are voluntarily giving up their right. They don't want to become their own country. They don't want to become a state. They just want to have basically want American security is what they basically want. That's what they want. And they are prepared to give up their right to vote in America to just have American security. Okay, that's your choice. Look, I wouldn't choose that, Alfred, but they do. And I'm okay with that. They have decided that. Now, if I was president, or if I had a choice, I would get rid of all of our empire. I would make everybody they have three choices. In my perfect world, right? You're asking my opinion. This is my opinion. All of our territories have to go away. Either they choose to become independent. Awesome. Be your own country. I don't care. You decide. Or you decide that you want to become a state. That's amazing. Become a state. Or join some other country. I don't care. Either one. Join some other country. Whatever. I don't care. Guam will become part of Japan. Go ahead. Whatever. I don't care. Whatever you want. But either way, I think we should end all of them no matter what. That's my opinion. But look, am I prepared to fight on that? Is the biggest issue? No. I think these people, Alfred, they've made a decision and the world's not going to end. I just don't like us having to defend people who don't want to be a state. You don't want to be a state. Guam could join Hawaii as a state. That's fine too. Make Hawaii, Guam one big state. Whatever. It's fine. Whatever. I want to make a decision. If I had magic powers or I could decide, I would force them into making a decision. One of those three. So I hope I answered your question at least. So Patty says, Larry, do you think Britain would take us back after 250 years of independence? 100% yes, they would. Are you kidding me? If the Brits could rebuild their empire, yeah, they would. In 5 seconds. I mean, they have nothing to offer us. Except, I guess, in theory, a cool royal family, I guess, but that's not really cool anymore, right? In my view, two things. I'll cover royal family and Britain in general. Would Britain take us back? Absolutely, they would. And there's an example of this, by the way. Some of you may not know this. Greenland is not a country. Greenland was a country. Greenland is a colony of Denmark. Some of you are like, what? That's true. Greenland was a colony of Denmark for decades, maybe even centuries, probably centuries. And then they went, we're independent. And then we're independent. They were like, independence sucks. Hey, Denmark, can we be a colony again? Denmark said yes and took them right back. So colonizers are going to colonize. So if there was, I don't know why we want to become a colony again. I don't know why we would. But if for some reason we want to become part of their Commonwealth or something, no doubt UK would take us back. They would take back Canada, Australia, Kenya. They would take back everything if they could. Of course they would. Yes. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, by the way, Greenland is the only colony I know of, I don't think there's any others, that voluntarily went back to colony status. I don't think it's ever happened before. Not that I know of. That's the only time I can think of it's ever happening in history. They were like, no. We like being a colony. They went back to being a colony. So there's some trivia for you. Dan asks, Larry, can you get Brock Pierce to run for LP Pres nomination? I know Brock. I spoke to him. He actually was on my show. If you look, he was on my show a while ago. I don't think Brock Pierce actually wants it, to be forward. I mean, I don't know this, but I feel like he wants independence. I don't think he wants a libertarian nod, but no, he might. Look, I don't know him well enough to be clear. We're not like buddies. So I don't know him well enough that he would come to me first. I don't think he would. If he's thinking something, I would not be his first call. I hope, Brock, if you happen to be watching or his people are watching, I hope I'd be one of your phone calls if you were considering it. But I don't think he actually wants it. I think Brock is very much into, at the moment, he's trying to fix, repair, support the crypto world. That is a big deal for him. He is all about it. He thinks it's the future. I happen to agree with him. I think he's right that it is the future. But at the moment, I'm not sure he wants to run. I mean, he's young. He's got time. My guess is he's keeping his feet in the water, staying, kind of aware, going to get some crypto stuff to hit the ground, and then maybe he'll do a 2028 run. That's only my opinion. I have no inside information. That's only my opinion. We'll see if I'm right or not. If he does run, I think he'd probably go with whatever party he felt had the best chance of getting a 50-state ballot access. So that would probably be either the No Labels Party, which I don't think wants him. For those who don't know, the No Labels Party, some of the party, they're a PAC. They've raised over $100 million. And what they're basically never Trumpsters is what they really are, never Trumpers. And they're trying to create an environment to where they can have one Democrat and one Republican run what they call a unity ticket. And in their minds, they believe that if they have a Republican that leans left and a Democrat that leans right, well, they have a unity ticket. So they would have a ticket like Larry Hogan, who was the Republican governor of Maryland, who leans left, anti-Trumper, and then Manchin, right? Manchin out of West Virginia, who's a Democrat, who leans right. So Republican leans left, Democrat who leans right, put those together, unity ticket, they win. They believe. I don't think that's true at all. I'm telling you what they think. So Brock Pierce might want to go with them because they have enough money to buy a whole lot of ballot access. If you've got $100 million of ballot access, you could get probably 45 to 49 states. You probably can get all 50, but you can get almost all of them just by writing checks to people. And Larry, that's not fair. Yes, and true, right? You're right. Unfair and 100% true. So you probably could do it, right, if you had that kind of money. So I think he'd pick them or he'd pick Libertarians. There's really no other party or group that has any chance of getting 50 state ballot access. Greens can't do it. Impossible. No other party. Forward can't do it because they haven't tried to yet. Forward will be able to if they tried to, because Forward also has $100 million due. So they could also do it. Forward right now isn't trying to. They've decided they're not going to do a presidential run. So I guess in theory, if they change their mind, Dan, he might go forward. So I could see him going forward, No Labels, or us. No one else has any chance of getting 50 state ballot access. I hope I answered your question. I went long, but I hope that's true. Yes. That Libertarian asks, for coffee, regular coffee pot, Nespresso, French press. Generally speaking, I love all types of coffee. I don't care what it is. I just love caffeine in coffee. I drink at least 3 cups a day, if not 6 or 7. But minimum 3 a day. I often drink far more, but I'm saying like my lowest is that. And when I say cups, I don't mean small cups. I mean like mugs like this, like at least 3 a day, sometimes 6 or 7. When I was on campaign, it was like 9 or 10 a day. It was crazy. I don't do that anymore. But I drink a lot. Any type. I like instant. I like coffee pot. Yes, and yes. Yes. So let's see here. Anthony says, what do you think about truck drivers being prohibited by federal and state governments to do any kinds of drugs on their own personal time? Are they also stopping them from drinking Is that also illegal? Are they stopping them from drinking? Can they have no prescription drugs? That too. If you're telling me the federal government can tell you that you cannot drink at all, you cannot take prescription drugs at all, then at least that would be fair. But it would still be wrong for several reasons. One, why the hell is the federal government involved in trucking? Drives me crazy. I get that they're going across, the border and such, but you're deciding on what substance they can have? That's what you're doing now? Look, the reality of it is nobody driving on the road ever should be inebriated in any way with any form of drug. If you're driving, you should not be on any type of drug, period. I agree with that concept. If you're driving, you should not be inebriated. Why? You are literally, particularly if you have a truck, you have an accident, you could easily kill at least 2 people, if not 10 or 20 people. So you can wound and kill lots of people. Those are called victims. And creating victims is a crime. But not just that. Threatening victims is also a crime. And if you have a 18-wheeler with who knows how many tons of stuff coming down a road at 70 miles an hour and you are inebriated, that is a threat. I have no problem with that. Some libertarians get mad at me. I don't care. Be mad at me. You're wrong. I'm right. That is a problem. But if it's in your personal time, why do I care? Why do I care? If you want to smoke weed or, I don't care, drink or whatever is the thing, whatever is the cool thing, do Molly, whatever, I don't care. And you're hanging out with your friends, whatever, what do I care? So that's my opinion. No employer, no government should care about what you do in your personal time. But if you're at work, you shouldn't be inebriated unless that's part of your work, obviously, right? And I mean that seriously. I mean, if that's part of your work, it's fine. Like you work at a weed store, probably fine if you're high on weed, the weed store, probably nobody cares. But then again, that individual boss can tell you on my time that I'm paying you for, you can't have alcohol or drugs or whatever. I get that. No worries. He's paying you for that time. On your own time, who cares? I hope that makes sense. So Phil says, who will have more impact after the election, RFK Jr. or Cornel West? How's that? It's impact minor and major party calculations for candidates looking to run. My gut says that after the election, I think RFK will probably go away. So I think him individually, I think he'll probably go away. Cornel West is going nowhere. So if his run, and this is the issue I don't know, is Cornel West's run going to be impactful in general? If Cornel West's run is impactful, what does that mean? It means that people believe, whether true or not, if people believe that he affected the Democratic Party's outcome in any way, whether who became the nominee, whether who won the election, whatever, if they believe that, he will do very well because he's not shutting up anytime soon. He's out there doing stuff. So Cornel West will have will have a lot more impact after the election if it's believed that he affected the election. Jill Stein screwed this up. Jill Stein, everyone thought, she affected the election. She got Trump elected. Absolutely not true. But people believed it. She did not capitalize on that at all. She tried to, but she failed at capitalizing it. Cornel West will not. If Cornel West is seen as affecting this election, the Democratic election, he will absolutely keep going. He will make more impact. Absolutely, he will. I think RFK Jr. is done after this, is my thought process. I think he'll be much more of a Ron Paul type. Now, I'm not comparing him to Ron Paul, meaning his impact, but Ron Paul isn't very active in politics anymore. He does like shows and stuff. He motivated lots of people, and now he's kind of chilling now. He's kind of relaxed. I think RFK will follow that model, what the Democratic Party should have been, and then he'll kind of hang out and do like podcasts and stuff. I think he'll do that. So I don't think he will affect it very much at all, unless he actually wins the thing. Let me keep going if I could. I think Cornel West has no chance of victory. I don't think he will win. I think he has no chance of victory. It's my thought process. RFK does. He's got a shot. He has a chance, not a high one, but he's a chance of being president. He does have a chance. It's not high because he's not part of the crew. He's not part of the team. The Democratic establishment is very strong and a lot of its way to stop him. But I think there is a chance, particularly if something happens to Biden, like Biden decides he doesn't want to run or gets ill or something like that. I think that is when that happens, if that happens, if Biden gets sick or decides he can't run or whatever happens, someone like a Gavin Newsom will step in going, I'm your hero. Look at me, Mr. Great Hair. It's me. I'm your guy. The Democrats may pick RFK over someone like a Gavin Newsom. It's possible because Newsom doesn't have the advantage of incumbency. He doesn't. And for sure, nobody wants Kamala Harris. Nobody does. And I have a conspiracy theory here. I do. And some of you are going to think I'm crazy, but I think this. The Democratic establishment desperately wants Kamala Harris to be president. They want the Democrats to put the first Black woman as president. They want it desperately. However, they realize there is no way she can win an election. She just cannot. She's horrible. She's terrible. I mean, Kamala Harris is a goddamn disaster. I would never thought I'd ever say this, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'd rather have Biden. I know some of you threw up a little bit in your mouth. I know, but that's how bad she is. I would rather have Biden. Like if I got to choose, like, oh my God, the world's going to end. Fine. Oh my God, Biden. Oh my God. Like that's what I would do over her. She's the worst. She's horrible, incompetent, nasty, backstabbing, trite. Every bad thing she is. And she cannot win an election. Democrats hate her. So there's no way she can win an election. But if Biden steps down after he wins the election at one point, they did it. And she will then have the power of incumbency. And if she has the power of incumbency, she might be able to win an election. And I feel like that's actually a little Democratic conspiracy. Now, do I have any data that backs it up? None. This is just my mind going. So take it for whatever you think it's worth. That's what it is. But that's what seems to be, because there's no other logic in keeping her around, right? Why would you keep her around? Why wouldn't you have put her on the Supreme Court to get rid of her? You put the other girl on, the other woman on, put her on instead. You had to have your Black woman. You had to have that. That's what he said. Now, I didn't say that. He said, Biden said, I got to have a Black woman. Okay, you made a decision. Fine. There's your VP. Put her on, you get rid of her. Pick your cool new VP, and you've set the Democratic Party up for 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, right? You bring on Gavin Newsom or whoever is the guy of the day, as a Buttigieg, whoever the Democrats want. You put that person as your VP, and you move forward. They did none of that. So RFK Jr., I went way off topic, Phil. I'm sorry. RFK Jr., to your earlier point, I think has a chance of victory. It is not high, but he's the only other person right now who could beat Biden, if anybody can, because he's a true outsider. And he's winning outside right now. And if the outsiders come in and show up and he starts winning, he has a shot. Biden will get sick. And then he'll be the guy to step in. So I think it's possible. Corner West, none. Afterwards, how does it affect us? It helps us tremendously. RFK Jr. and Cornel West will help us later on. They're not going to help us this time, to be forward with you. They are going to make it harder for us in 2024. Why? Because there are a lot of people in America who are just rebels, and they just want to vote against the establishment. RFK Jr. and Cornel West give them other options. They just do. Those people who would have voted for us because, well, it's not them, those people would have other options. So I think some of the freebie votes that we get every year, and libertarians do get some freebie votes, just the people who are like, not these two, and they check the libertarian box because it's not the two, I think we'll lose a lot of those. Actual libertarians, I think most of them in the general election will still vote for us. I think many libertarians are going to, at the primary level, change their registration to vote for someone like an RFK or a Vivek Ramaswamy or a Cornel West or anyone else who they feel is a rebel. But I think the vast majority of libertarians will go back and vote libertarian in the general election. But the independents who libertarians often get, I think we're going to lose some of those this time. However, RFK Jr. and Cornel West are the examples I've been talking about. Third parties and their ideas are growing like there's no tomorrow. Forward is an example of that. No Labels is an example of that. RFK Jr. is an example of that. Cornel West is an example of that. So yes, in the long run, not 2024, this is super helpful for us, Phil. I'm very happy about this. In the long run. Short run, we're going to take a bit of a hit in 2024. I hope that answers your question. So yes. That libertarian lady asked, do you think the drugs found at the White House is a distraction? Of course. Who the hell cares? Of course. I don't cover that. Why? Why? Let's say it's the president's. Let's say it's, his sons. Let's say it's some random guy. Let's say it's one of his ministers. Like we're in England now. Let's say it's one of his secretaries who came in and does drugs. What do I care? I don't think coke should be illegal anyway. And I know, look, my day job, I do a lot of time supporting and coaching people in finance, law, and tech. At least half the Wall Streeters either are on cocaine or on Adderall. A lot of them snort Adderall now. They'll snort Adderall, take Adderall, snort coke, whatever. They're half of these guys are on drugs. It's fine. I don't care. I don't care if the secretaries of state's on drugs. I don't care. I don't care if it's. I don't care. So again, probably shouldn't be doing coke on when you're working. But I don't know if it makes you a better worker. Maybe. So, but yeah, it means nothing. I don't care. I don't care. Yes. So, anyway, Joe says, "What about wrongly convicted inmates? Let them provision vote." Wrongly convicted. Well, if they're wrongly convicted, wouldn't I pull them out? I'm not sure where you're going with this one, Joe. As a general rule, most states either blatantly stop felons from voting or make it so hard to don't tell them. So most felons who are out don't vote. Let's make a deal. Let's at least just do that. Let's just let people who are out, who have actually done their time, they paid their debt to society, once they're out, give them all their rights back. I'm okay with that. The idea of our people in prison, I'm not prepared to go there yet. I have to have a deep conversation. I don't know if I can go there. Definitely once you're out. You're out. Once you paid, if you get sentenced to 3 years, you do your 3 years, you're out. Well, then why are you being punished anymore? Stop. You've done your punishment. What if he's out on parole? He's out on parole, which means you thought he was okay. He gets to vote. He's back out. He's out paying taxes again. He's working and paying taxes. You get to vote. If he's out, he should be able to vote. If you think he's too dangerous or too stupid or too whatever, leave him in. But if you're letting him out, he gets his rights back. That's how it should work. That's it. So Gene says, yes, of course, it's distraction. I agree. Total distraction. 100%. Yes, 100%. So let's see here. Philip says Midway is part of the Hawaii archipelago. Yes, exactly. So you can do that if you want to, right? I don't mind them, whatever they feel. I'm totally okay with that. Yes, whatever the case is. Absolutely. Joe goes on to say, unfortunately, state is all about partisan politics now. And it's an embarrassment, Joe. You're correct. It's embarrassment. It should be about, do people want representation? But it isn't. You're totally correct. Yes, you are right. I can't stand that. Yes. So Gene asks, can you explain what identity politics is? Yeah, it's you deciding that you should support a policy, an individual, or a party based upon how you identify and how society identifies you. And a good example of that I spoke about today, for those of you who might have seen the Libertarian Coffee Live that I did today at 2:00 with Dr. Aaron Lewis and the wonderful lawyer, Trisha Lindsay. It was on today. If you want to watch, it's on YouTube. You can check it if you want to. It's about the idea that, Biden said, if you don't vote for me, his words, you ain't black. His words, not mine, you ain't black. That's identity politics, right? You must vote for me, or you must support this party, or you must do this because of some identity, right? So if I'm gay, I have to vote Democrat, right? If I'm Christian, I have to vote Republican or whatever. That's identity politics. It is not about whether they actually help you or harm you, whether you like the person or not, whether you support the policy or not. It is, are you the thing? You must vote this way. Are you the thing? And sometimes it doesn't matter, Gene, how you self-identify. It's often how I choose to identify you, right? So I'm going to say, Gene, that you are this thing. And when I deem it to be true, you must do the thing that I say. That's even worse. I mean, it's at least better if you self-identify at least, right? You've decided on your own, but then I decide, right? Jean is this thing, therefore she must do this. If she doesn't, she obviously is a self-hating thing, whatever the thing is I said you are, right? So yes, that's what identity politics is. And sadly, it can be very effective. It also can be very powerful because it does work sometimes. So people use it. It's easy. It's just easy. So yes. So Legacy Zach says we should focus on leaving Europe and Asia first. I'm not sure if that's in response to, but I agree. We should be leaving. There is no reason. I'm sorry, there is a reason. There's no good reason. There we go. There's no good reason for us being in Europe and Asia. There are tons of reasons, and most of those reasons have to do with the military-industrial complex and lots of dollars. That's most of it. There's a small reason that's good for us to be in other areas. There is. And again, some libertarians get mad at me for this, but I do not have a problem with the United States having exactly the number of bases required to help police our C zones, right? Our trade zones. I don't have a problem with that. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't care. I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with it because at the moment, no other Navy can do it. Just that's a fact of life now. No other Navy can police trade routes right now. So if I would like us to have the absolute minimum number of bases required to do that. That's it. Nothing else. And we don't need to have air bases in Germany for that, right? Or marine bases in Japan or Korea for that. That's not required for that. We might need one in, Hawaii, or might need one maybe in Singapore or something, whatever. I don't know where exactly. I'm not an expert in this regard, but whatever is the minimum amount to guard sea lanes and trade zones, yes, that's exactly how many we should have. Is that 20? Is that 15? Is that 10? Whatever that number is, yes. Not the 500 or something we have, whatever crazy number we have across the 700 installations, something like that, across 100 countries, some crazy thing. We don't need any of that. Absolutely. So thank you for that, Zach. I do appreciate it. So yes. All right. Let me see if I can do this again. All right. Dave says, speaking of libertarians debating / speaking, the Des Moines Register puts on a political soapbox every year. We're trying to get libertarians on the political soapbox. Libertarians need your help. Oh, I like that. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Dan says, it is too bad Dave hasn't announced at all. I think, Dan, you mean Dave Smith. I'm assuming you mean Dave Smith. Yes, I've said before, I don't think he's running. I'm not very close to Dave. We're not we're not buddies, so I don't have any inside information. I could be wrong. I'm looking at what I see, and I'm interpreting what I see. That's all. Again, no inside information. This is what I see. I think Dave is in a spot where he can wait, and why wouldn't he? To be fair, if I was him, I wouldn't run. He's got 2 young kids, a comedy career that's exploding and doing very well now. He gets to go out and do his cool stuff, make tons of money, and spend time with his family. Why punish yourself for the run for president? I agree with him if he's deciding no. And again, one more time, I want to be clear. I have no inside information. This is me reading the tea leaves. I don't think he wants to run. And I think if he sees a decent candidate come up, he's going to say, good, let him or her do it. I got stuff to do. And again, if I were him, I agree with him, Dan. I'm just saying, if I was him, I wouldn't run either. So I don't think he's going to run. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Yes. Isaac says, what can the Libertarian Party do to make an impact as a serious party? I'm going to tell you what they can do. And right now, Lars Mapstead has brought this idea up. Others have talked about it. I talked about it years ago. And that is get an electoral vote in the election next year. Look, obviously, whoever our nominee is, I hope that person wins. I hope they become president. That'd be amazing. We have to realize, though, the odds are super, super slim of us winning the presidency. Could it happen? Crazy shit happens. Maybe. I hope so. That would be amazing. I don't want to jinx it. I'm just being realistic. The odds are insanely slim. I wouldn't bet on them that we're going to win the election. We're probably not. Okay. But what can we achieve realistically that can make an impact? Getting some gold on that map. How many times does the media show that map, the electoral map, at the presidential election? I mean, thousands upon thousands of times. Imagine there was some gold on that map. If we could win a state, we could win Utah or Nebraska breaks up their stuff. Nebraska, Maine, a chunk of Maine, something. If we could put gold on that map, that would make massive impact, right? That would be huge next year. I hope we can do that. The second thing we can do, which makes some impact, you can see a difference, is by affecting elections. What Chase did in Georgia, what Shane Hazel did in Georgia. I mean, making runoffs is good, right? Runoffs is good. Getting debate stage is good. It's not, those things aren't as powerful as getting gold on a map. That's a home run if we do that. That's amazing. That's what I want. But affecting elections, it gets people thinking about us. It gets people scared. Why do you think the Colorado Libertarian Party made that deal with the GOP? Why do you think that GOP guy in, ostensibly Libertarian guy in Arizona decided to drop out and support the GOP guy? Because we were making impact and we were able to bribe them. Because we were affecting the elections. So that's how we make impact. So I hope that answers your question. That's the key piece. Yes. Libertarian lady says, I keep holding out hope that Spike Cohen would run, but I know he's busy keeping government accountable with you other power. Look, again, I have no inside information. This is me reading it. Spike is killing it with you other power. It just is. The guy was just on Australian TV. I mean, he has, I'm going to give nothing but kudos to Spike. Some people don't like Spike. If you don't like Spike, you're weird. Spike is great. I give nothing but kudos. Spike has taken his VP run in a campaign year where we got our asses kicked, right? 2020 was a terrible year for us. Spike took that and he is building to something where he's got momentum throughout the country. Spike, if you or your people are listening, kudos. Well done, goddammit. Well done. I wish we all could do this, right? He did it. Most of the people running, they run and you don't see them again. Not Spike. So if this is what Spike does well, if this is what keeps him, and more importantly, his amazing wife happy, because he would like to keep his wife, and I get it. Trying to keep your wife, not a bad idea. I'm with him on that one, right? He wants to keep his wife. Good for him. If she's happy and he's making impact, why the hell would he run for president? I mean, maybe he has something else he knows, but I get it. He's doing a good thing. He's working it. I like it. So, yes. I hope that answered your question. So, yes. All righty. Let's see here. Phil says, without coffee, he has to return the E in his last name. It's true. E is for energetic. And without coffee, I don't get to have it anymore. Absolutely. So, yes. There we go. So, Hickory Nut Jordan says, why aren't you on Spotify? Probably because my team hasn't put me on yet. I think I am. Wait a minute, am I on Spotify? I might be. We have been very bad. This is me and my team's fault. My fault because it's my team. So our fault, but my responsibility. How about that? No matter what, it's my responsibility. No matter what, we have not been good at chopping up our shows and getting them on other platforms. And a lot of it's been because of cash flow issues here or there. Other things we've been doing. We're going to Freedom Fest next week. So there's been a lot of stuff out there, but there's no good reason, Hickory Nut, Gorge, Libertarians, there's no good reason. We should be on it. We just haven't made it a priority. And, you talk about it, makes you think maybe we should. Speaking of that, by the way, you've given me the right option. Guys, you want us to grow so we can make more money? Do me a favor. Click that like button. You guys always ask me for AMAs. One of the reasons why I don't do as many, I used to do AMAs all the time, is because AMAs support the people who already love me, which is awesome. You like me, you're watching me, you have questions, I answer them, I want to. But I almost never gain new followers with AMAs because people who don't know me don't want an AMA. They come here for some new idea or some new thing or some guest that I have or something like that. So it's rare for me to gain new followers on AMA. I was trying to grow Sharpway, so I was doing less AMAs because I wanted to spend more time growing the show with other guests and other topics that would draw people in. But now I'm doing AMAs because people have been complaining and saying, Larry, we want some more AMAs. And I don't want to ignore the people who love me. I want to give you what you want. So I've been doing more AMAs recently. And a couple of like Tuesdays with Kathy and stuff like that because people have asked for those. So you like it? Awesome. Click the like button. If you haven't clicked it, what is wrong with you? Click it. It does matter. You should also subscribe if you haven't, if you're on either YouTube or YouTube. Yes. Hit that subscribe button. Please do so. It does matter. Please do it. It does matter. If you're watching on Twitter, then please retweet this. It does matter. If you're watching on Facebook, share this into a group. The more we share into things, the more we do that, the better off we're going to be. So yes, if you happen to be on YouTube and you want to support the show, super chat me. Super chat me. It gets your question to the front and it supports the show. If you want to support us on another way, you can absolutely go to patreon.com/Sharpway. Throw me $10 a month so we can keep the show going. The more that comes in, the less I have to go do other work and the more I can spend time doing this. If you say, Larry, I don't care about your stuff you do. All I care about is your politics. Okay. Care about politics, no worries. Then help me get ballot access in 2024 so we can keep going. Help me. You talk about the presidential candidate? We need ballot access in New York State. Who's going to do it? This guy right here. Head over to LarrySharp.com/ballot access. Donate to me. Donate to me so I can make this happen. If you care about the politics part, LarrySharpe.com/ballot access. That goes directly to me getting ballot access directly to the campaign to get ballot access in New York State in 2024. I have to raise $500,000. I'm about $50,000 in. I'm short, but I'm on target for a good time, but I still need more. I'm still 400 grand short. 50,000 is done. I got another, 8 months now, 9 months to get the 400 grand. Throw some money in there. Every bit counts. My perfect world is you put in 10, 15, 20 bucks every month. Monthly is going to help more than anything else. If you do that, that'd be awesome. Yeah. So any of those work, I hope you will do one of those things to help support the show. It does matter. So I'm going to keep going down for more questions again, if I can. All righty. I'm going to try to get a couple more of these in if I can. Oh, good. We have tons. Yes, there we go. Good. Wow, you guys are putting a lot of stuff out. I appreciate it. Yes. All righty. Andrew says, hey, Larry, glad to see you doing another AMA. See, helping people out. Now, for my question, if government-run healthcare is a must-have, would you prefer it run as a state or county level rather than federal? Oh, God, that's a tough question. Generally speaking, okay, I have to go a couple places here. One, if we do government-run healthcare, there's going to be an option for the private sector. There will be a choice for either there'll be private insurance or something like that, because rich people are not going to use government-run healthcare. That doesn't happen in Europe, ain't going to happen here. Doesn't happen. They go to private doctors, which means all the best doctors will leave government-run care and they will go to whatever the private sector is, so wealthy people can pay them more. So government healthcare is going to be of less quality than whatever the private sector is, because the rich people are going to do that. How do I know that? Ask any wealthy person, particularly if they're left-leaning, when they want, Medicare for all. Are they right now on Medicare or anything like that? They will all say no, because they're not. Unless they're lying to you. They all go to private doctors, right? Wealthy people go to private doctors, what they do. So that's number one. It will only be for people middle class and lower. The wealthy will still go to private doctors. So there will never be just only that. America would never accept that ever. So I guess we'd have to have it to where now it's basically VA for all. So if you're going to have VA for all, God, it's a tough question, Andrew. You really put me on the spot here, but I want to answer the question. If this is my only option, I would rather have it run at a county level. Why? Because there has to be some place to go when the doctors or the system or the administrators screw you over. There's got to be some place to go. Some way of asking for help, because once in that system, there's literally nothing you can do. It'll just be shitty healthcare for everybody who's poor and middle class, and there'll be no recourse if it's a federal plan. It's like the VA, right? The VA is a terrible system. And there's no recourse, and everyone just pays a price. There's no way of getting around it. It's terrible. So, I mean, you basically asked me, do I want brain cancer or lung cancer? Right? I guess lung, because at least I'll keep my brain. I guess. I mean, so I hope I answered your question at least. I know it wasn't a good answer, but VA is the answer. That's if you are a VA, if you use the VA, you know what I'm talking about. VA is actually pretty good when it comes to things like I broke my leg or something. The VA is not bad. Anything else? Long-term care, medical health. Mental health. Oh, just bad. The system's broken, and there's no recourse. So at least if it's at a county level, it'll still suck. Like you can't get around crappy care at a government-run healthcare. You can't get around it. It will be shitty care. But do you have any recourse? If it's a local level, you have a place to go to get help when it's so bad that you're going to die or something. So I guess that's what I wanted. So yeah, there we go. Absolutely. What a question. I'm going to bring this up because this is the kind of thing that I get a lot when I run, and it often bothers me. This doesn't bother me, but you'll see what I mean. Zach says, was the Pacific Railroad Act of 1862 the beginning of the actual American fascism? Now, either Zach is on the spectrum, I don't know, Legacy Zach, on the spectrum, or he's just trying to show off. One of the two. When other people do this, like lefties or righties, they're trying to make me look bad. Why would you ask a question like that? Serious question. Why would you do that? Wouldn't it be better if you would say something like, hey, Larry, have you heard of the Pacific Road Act 1962? This is like a question you ask at a PhD. We're not PhDs here. We don't know this stuff. Yes, I guess. Is that okay? I don't know. Anyway, Pete, thank you for the national debt. 32 trillion, 402 billion, 127 million, 570,000, $956.67. The national debt. Yeah. And the sad part, Pete, is I remember when you were doing this, and it was like 27. Now it's 32. And it wasn't that long ago. Just keeps getting worse. Absolutely. Yes. Let's see here. Keep going down here. Alfred says, Ron Paul's my dude. Yes. The Scientific Libertarian says, Reason Magazine just interviewed RFK Jr. He is completely against nuclear energy. Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. The advantage of RFK Jr. is the reason why so many people like him is not because he's libertarian. That isn't the reason, because he isn't really libertarian. Does he have some libertarian views? Yes, he does. But many people have some libertarian views. He does have some. There's no question he has some libertarian views. But he's not libertarian. But he does have some libertarian views. People like him because he's a rebel Democrat. And that's true. Whether you like him or believe in his views, or the case may be, he is absolutely a rebel Democrat. No doubt he's a rebel Democrat. And that's why people like him. Absolutely. So I think that's a terrible take, but it doesn't mean that, to be forward, if you have to have a Democrat, I'd rather have an RFK Democrat than a Biden Democrat, right? Again, this is like, brain cancer versus stomach cancer, whatever, right? But if I have a choice, I'd much rather have an RFK Democrat than a Biden Democrat if I have a choice. And again, if the Republican Party was more like Thomas Massey, the Democratic Party was more like RFK Jr., they'd both be better parties, right? Whether they still wouldn't be libertarians. Well, Thomas Massey's pretty close. But anyway, either way, they would still be Republicans and Democrats, but they'd be good Republicans and Democrats relative to what we have now. So it's a relative piece. So yes. Why do we keep ending up with absolutely terrible duopoly candidates for president? Because remember, as a general rule, to move towards the top, you have to be one of two things: a complete and utter outsider who's screaming and yelling, or part of the good old boys club. That's why the two-party system makes it that way all the time, Joe. That's the reason why. Phil says Kamala Markle. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yes, absolutely. That's very good. Absolutely. Phil says he's good for a Democrat. Yes. I think Larry's axiom with the Libertarian Party is correct. We're trying to make better Democrats, better Republicans. Yes. I think RFK Jr. is a better Democrat. Perfectly. Yep. He's still bad at a lot of things. Yep. Again, Phil and I are exactly simpatico, but he's better on things that we want Democrats to be good on. Yes. Agreed. Yes. Still Democrat, but he's a better Democrat. Absolutely a better Democrat. 100%. Yes. 100%. Yes. Let's see here. Gene goes on to say, when I was collecting signatures to get Libertarians on our county ballot, several people signed it because anyone's better than who we have. There we go. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. The Libertarians fighting back with Phil, saying, how is he better? He's against all vaccines, nuclear energy, geophosphate, and guns. He's not against all vaccines. That's not true. That part is not true. He's not against all vaccines. It's not true. However, I think the point still stands. He's not a libertarian. He's just a better Democrat. So I do think the point still stands, scientific libertarian. You're correct, except the all vaccine piece. He's actually not. But I do. He's still a Democrat. I'm not just. Would you rather have Biden or him? He wouldn't have locked us down. I don't think we'd be in Ukraine right now. So that's all I'll say. Yes. Anthony says, why do judges allow the unconstitutional rules of the one big party to keep other parties off ballots in local, state, and federal elections? I'll tell you why. Because they're all part of the same system. They're all getting their money from the same place. They're all part of the same system. They're all priests of the same religion. That's why. They think this is a big problem, I think, with most judges. Not all. Horribly in New York State. New York State judges are just terrible. But most of them will tell you the same thing. My job is to follow the law. That's insanely fucking stupid. That's not your job. That's not your job. And if you're a judge, listen to me. That's not your job. That's not. That's part of your job. But a bigger part of your job is checking the chimps that make the laws in the first place. The executive is not supposed to check the laws. The only person who's supposed to follow the laws is the executive because he enforces them. So the executive, mayor, governor, president, is supposed to follow the damn law. And their executive orders are not supposed to be to make laws. Their executive orders are supposed to be to explain the details of enforcing a law that was made by the chimps in the assembly or the chimps in the Congress, either one. Who checks the chimps? The judicial branch. That's his job. You're supposed to follow the Constitution, not the law, the Constitution. So when the chimps make unconstitutional laws, which they always do because they're chimps, they make the unconstitutional laws, you're supposed to stop them and go, oh, no, chimp, you can't do that. Here's a banana. Please stop making stupid laws. I'm going to immediately destroy them because it's unconstitutional. You don't know any better because you're either empty-headed or an empty suit. One of the two. Most of the people in our legislature are either empty-headed or empty-suited. Most of them are. Not all. At least 85%, probably more like 95%. So when they make the dumb laws, the judge is supposed to stop them and go, no. An example, and they always go, well, Larry, their hands are tied. That's a bunch of horse shit. Their hands are not tied at all. Their brains are tied because they're all priests of the same religion. They're not tied. What happens if a judge makes a bad call? He gets removed. Never. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe once in 1,000 times. They don't get removed. There's no damage to them making a bad call. If they make a bad call, there's no punishment for them. Judges are demigods. And I mean that literally. They're demigods. They can't be touched. Nothing happens to them ever. They make terrible calls and nothing happens to them. And they know it. Nothing. Except maybe they can't make enough money. They get the cash. They don't get supported by the parties. That's their problem. But I will ask any of you a question. You will hear me say this all the time, and I'll keep saying it because it does matter. Anthony, you or anyone else watching, if you were a judge, and all of a sudden the chimps in your assembly, they decide to pass a law that says, well, if you're 17 or 18 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old, and you get convicted of graffiti, the state has to mandatory sentence you to death. Chimps pass a law, and the empty-headed or empty suit governor signs that law. It's now a law in your state that if you're 17 or 16 years old, caught, and convicted of graffiti, the mandatory sentence is death. You're a judge in a criminal case. The jury comes back guilty. The kid's 16 years old. What are you going to do? If you were to say, well, the law, got to follow law, sentence to death, you are a horrible human being, worthy of nothing but scorn. You shouldn't be a judge. You're removed from everything. You should be put into a camp. You're a horrible human being. But sadly, I would bet most judges would put that kid to death. Why? Because their religion of the state is more important than anything else, even the lives of the people it's supposed to support. Even though clearly there's an unconstitutional law. Not even close. It's not even close. Clearly, that is cruel and unusual punishment. No doubt. I mean, clearly. But if no one has standing, they'll do that. They will find any excuse. Judges will find any excuse to not make a ruling, and they'll say, well, some guy, some other state hack, some other state lackey in a robe said this was okay, so it's okay. Or they didn't do a procedural issue, so the kid dies. Or, oh, no one had standing, so the kid dies. So the kid dies should not exist. I don't give a shit what the standing is because you're a human being. But Larry, they have to follow the law. Well, then I don't need them, do I? If you're not going to judge, then replace a judge with an algorithm. I'm not joking. Make an algorithm. What do you need a judge for? You'll save a whole lot of money on robes, and we can fire all these people. Fire the judges, make algorithms, and who the hell needs judges then? Or be a judge and follow your oath, which is not to my political party or my state, but to the Constitution, which so few do. So I hope I answered your question. Most judges are garbage. Most of them think their job is to follow the law. It isn't. Most of them will take no chances when they should. And even though there's no response, there's not even a worry that they're going to be punished, but they do it anyway. So anyway, hope that answered your question. All right, I'll keep going here. Let's see here. Alfred says Joe Biden could use some coke. You know, you're not wrong. I mean, he might actually he might be a better president on some coke. He might be. It's possible. Yes, he might be. It's possible. So, Joe says, Dave Smith's going to endorse the R candidate. You think so? I think you're teasing. Look, I know Dave Smith has gotten behind some Republicans in the past. I know he has. I don't think he would go as far as endorsing whoever's the Republican. I mean, if it's Trump or the Senate, I don't think he's going to endorse Trump or the Senate. I mean, maybe, but I don't see it. I think that's a bridge too far for Dave. I don't think he would do it, but I guess we'll find out. Yes. So, let me grab a couple more of these. Wow, you guys are doing a lot of back and forth. I think some of this might actually not be for me, actually. So, yes. Let me keep going down here. Gene says, I love Tasha's husband. Nicely done. I like that. Yes. Missy says, we are on Spotify. There we go. See, we're on Spotify. Missy knew. See that? There we go. Missy knew. There we go. All good. I knew that. I was teasing you guys. Yes, I know we are. Sorry, you can see my team is doing a better job than I am. So, yes. Sam says, just got a letter that New York requires car owners to have spousal liability insurance. I have no spouse. Can we press the legislature to stop passing stupid laws like this? You have to have spousal liability insurance. So let's make marriage even worse. Is that what we're doing? Let's make it even harder to be married. Because what could go wrong? Wow. Another thing for, yes. Wow. Can we press legislature on stop passing laws like this? Sorry. Can we press legislature to stop passing stupid laws like this? Sadly, Sam, no. Because they're chimps who pass stupid laws, as I mentioned. The judges will do nothing about it because they're all part of the same crew, and our governor doesn't care in any way, shape, or form. It is so obvious our governor does not care about us. Her Majesty, Queen Kathy, first of her name, destroyer of the middle class, worshiper of the upper class. Yeah, she does not care at all. So, no, yes. Like Zach says, I like history. Me too, Zach. I do. I want to know your perspective. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I'm glad you're still watching. I'm glad you're paying attention. Please keep going. Yes. So, let's see if I can do this. Oh, so many of these. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Pete goes on to say, RFK is an old school Democrat. I think that's true. Yes. Libertarian tells me I'm wrong. He says bullshit. He says he's not against all vaccines. That's a lie. He says he wants safe vaccines. And when you ask him which vaccine is safe, he says none of them are. But his family is vaccinated. So it's not all. Maybe it's all new ones. Maybe he thinks that. And I think he's done that before. He has said that. He said like some of the new ones are bad and that kind of stuff. So yeah. But let's say you're right. Let's say he's against all of them. Let's say I'm wrong and he's lying and is against all of them. I don't know. As long as he's not going to, and in my assumptions he wouldn't do this. Now, I could be wrong on this. From what he said, and I'm only going from what he said, he has said he would never mandate them or ban them. So assuming that what he's saying is true, that he'd never mandate or ban, I'm actually okay even if he's against them all, as long as he wouldn't stop people from getting them if they wanted them. So I guess I'd have to, I mean, look, the odds of becoming president are slim anyway, but assuming he were to become president, I would hope he wouldn't want to do a ban on all of them, even if he hates them. I don't have a problem with any executive saying they think something is wrong or bad, but I don't want them to ban it. For example, let's say I don't want you to eat, I don't know, ketchup. I don't care if you eat ketchup. But let's say I don't like ketchup and I want to tell you ketchup's bad. Don't eat ketchup. It's fine if I'm the governor. I can say it all day long. Ketchup's bad. Don't eat it. But as long as I'm not banning it and you can eat it if you want to, it's fine. So the governor doesn't like ketchup or whatever. I don't care about ketchup. But my point is, I made that up because that was interesting. But if the governor doesn't like ketchup and wants to talk about how bad ketchup is, the governor can, the mayor can, the president can. I don't care. Are you banning ketchup? No. Good. If you care about the president's views on ketchup, then don't eat ketchup. But if you don't care, eat what you want. So yes, I even if you're right, I don't think it matters relative to him still being a better Democrat than Joe Biden. So I guess that's my view. Maybe I'm off on this one. So yes. Let's see here. Keep going down here. Thank you guys for all this back and forth. I really Appreciate it. So Joe says, I had ketchup today. All right, see? It's fine. It's fine, Joe. I don't eat all the ketchup you want, brother. It's all good. Yes. Yeah. All right. Yes. All right. Legacy that goes on. Your thoughts on how we can change lobbying influences that generate policy typically against the natural rights of all. I'm sorry, speaking so quickly. Your thoughts on how we can change lobbying influences that generate policies typically against the natural rights of all. Yes. There are many ways we do that. The biggest ways we do that is by, I would say, two kind of overall changes that we can do. And they're both when it comes to, not ballot access, campaign finance. Number one, we're not going to get the Supreme Court to change the views that a company or that companies are people. It's stupid. It's not true. This goes back to the way that how dumb is it that judges would even think that. There is no way at all companies are people. That is simply not a thing, but they decided that because that's how bad our judges are. But it is, and we're not going to change it. That's what it is. So here's what we do. We make one law which says you may only donate if you can vote. That's it. You may only donate if you can vote. Now, that's already been thought of. So there are some people who are trying, I'm not joking, who are talking about, I can't see it happening, but people are talking about the idea of giving companies the right to vote. It's absolutely a real thing. Some people are talking about it. Yes. But my point is, if you make that rule, you may only donate if you can vote. That's it. If you did that rule, that would mean PACs can't donate money. That would mean corporations can't donate money. That would mean unions can't donate money. Only individuals can donate money. Number one thing, just make that change. That's the first one. That right there means groups and companies cannot give. Only individuals who can vote can give. Second, on top of that, you simply say, any amount of money you want to give, you can give whatever you want to whomever you want. It's your money, because they say money is speech. They've already made that rule that money is speech. If money is speech, literally again, if money is speech, then that means they cannot limit the amount of money that we give, can they? That's literally unconstitutional, isn't it? You're limiting my free speech. You can't do that as a government. So you can't legally, if money is speech and they have deemed it to be true, all campaign finance limits are by default unconstitutional. Now, again, nobody will do this because they don't care about the Constitution. They've forgotten that a long time ago, and making sense is irrelevant. It's whatever will help people. The reason why we have campaign finance laws in the first place is not to limit anything. There's more money in finance than ever. The rich still have more power than ever, and we have more campaign finance laws than we've ever had. Campaign finance rules are good for one thing: to put people in jail who don't follow the rules. That's it. It is a way to punish people and to call them fraudulent. That's all it is. It makes it the little guys can't get ahead because they always have campaign finance issues. Always. That's why they make it that way. So number one is only people who can vote can give. And second, anyone can give any amount as long as it's transparent. That's it. So everyone who gives any amount must be transparent. But you give whatever you want. I want to give $1 million when Joe runs next time because I love Joe and I'm going to support him in Florida. I'm going to write him a check for $1 million. I should be able to, but it's going to be clearly. Everyone's going to know, oh my God, Joe's being backed by Larry Sharpe. If you don't like Larry Sharpe, maybe you don't like Joe. Well, Joe, your choice. You want my $1 million or not? You might not want it because maybe I'm a bad guy and people don't like it. So people will say, I don't want your money, Larry, because you're a bad guy. Or you might go, I don't care. Give me the money, Larry. I don't care how bad you are. Whatever the case may be. My point is now you might say, Larry, that just means more people give more money. No, the evidence is in. If just having money mattered, and that was all that mattered, no matter where it comes from, you should ask, what does President Bloomberg think? Oh, you can't because we don't have a President Bloomberg. Bloomberg dropped $500 million on his campaign. Why didn't it work? Because everybody knew it was just him. It turned people off. They didn't want to talk to him. They didn't like it. It was bad. People actually made a difference. And they said, I saw a difference. I saw a difference. Wait a minute. This isn't people supporting him. This is one guy trying to buy the election. And they all saw it. And it hurt him. I believe that to be true. Back when Newt Gingrich was trying to run for president, he had one guy, it was Adelson, who was backing him with $10 million. Everybody knew it. And Republicans didn't like it. And they didn't support him. And this is the guy who was the contract with America guy. And he got screwed because he only had one big guy supporting him. You do that, it changes everything. Last thing I'll bring up, which is at a local level, but it also helps. Once you have that, now unions can't donate locally. Think about what happens there. Now, if unions want their ideas passed, they have to go to people for it, which they should. They serve the people. They absolutely should. So I think really that's the issue. I hope that answers your question. I hope it does. So yes. All right. Let me say this. Let's see here. Phil says, Larry, what kind of barn are you streaming from? It is my bunker. It's not my barn. It's a silo. It's my bunker because things are bad, Phil. Things are bad, brother. So I'm sitting here doing that. Yes, absolutely. I think Joe wants my $1 million. He says his campaign motto is "Make America Sharp." I like that. I'm with you. There we go. He's ready for my $1 million. Yeah, see? Let's change the rules, Joe, and you could win. Not too shabby. Speaking of this stuff, if I could, guys, please do me a favor. Click that like button if you would. It does matter. It's important. I know I bug you all the time because some of you are not doing it. I don't know why you're not doing it. Please click that like button if you haven't already. Please do it. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this right now. It does matter. Retweet it. Please retweet it right now. If you want your chat to go to the front, you can super chat me if you want. If you're watching on YouTube, that's awesome. Click the like button on YouTube or Facebook. Doesn't matter where you're watching. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/sharpway. Throw me $10 a month so I can do more of this and less of other work. And then lastly, if you want to support getting a third party on the ballot in all 50 states, getting a third party on the ballot in New York State, the hardest one right now to do, LarrySharpe.com/ballot-access, or just donate, doesn't matter. Donate to LarrySharpe.com so you can make this happen. We have to raise $500,000. We're about $50,000 there already, so we're on our way, but we're not there yet. The more we can raise, the better. We want to make sure we get on the ballot, get the signatures, get on the ballot, and get the 130,000 votes so we're able to make stuff happen in 2025 and, of course, in 2026. So if you can do that, that will be very important. Please do that if you can. It really does matter. Yes. Libertarian Lady says, I share as much as I can and do that more from Twitter. Yes. Twitter is one of my better places, believe it or not now. Maybe it's because Elon, maybe not, I don't know. But I can tell when Elon came on, I had a much better showing here on Twitter. That's for sure. YouTube's okay for me too. So's Facebook. They're okay, but Twitter has been very good to me recently. I cannot complain at all. I'm getting a lot of people watching, people caring. It really does matter. I'm happy as can be, right? I mean, look, I always want more. Obviously, I want more. I want all of it, but I'll take whatever I can get. Now, I know I went a little bit long on the judges. I have some issues with judges from last year. Some of you know how they were not very good to me. And I think with that in mind, I have a little bit of a bias against them, as I saw them not care about me or my rights or our rights or anything like that whatsoever. And it made me very upset. It really bothered me. And I'm still, as you can tell, bothered by it. I'm still bothered by it. It was something that made me feel like I had no power. I had no control. I had no respect. And it still burns me. I know it shouldn't, but it does. I spent an entire year trying my best to just get on the ballot. And the arguments I made were obvious arguments that made sense to anyone who listened. And not one judge cared. And each one of them simply found a way to validate their bad behavior by looking at the past and saying somebody else did something stupid. So therefore it's okay. People saying I have no standing, I have no reason, I have no way, I can't do anything. And my argument to them was actually a simple one in a way. I said, there's only 3 branches of government. I can't get the governor because you won't let me run for governor, so I can't become the governor. No chance of that. And the governor's part of the party that's pushing me down. So that's number 1. I can't use the legislature because you won't let my party gain a majority because you want my party on the ballot. So there's no chance of anyone voting for me. So I can't use them. And they're the people who made the law that's stopping me. And the government's who signed the law that's stopping me. So I can't use those two. The only one I can use is you. The only one I can use is the judicial branch. The other two have literally, they are the ones stopping me. You're the only one. And judges said, well, our hands are tied. No, they're not. No, they're not, you state lackey, you state cuck. No, they're not. They're absolutely not at all tied. You've decided to tie them yourself because you're a state lackey. And that's most judges. They're just state lackeys. Most of them are. They support the state, not the people. You see it when it comes to family court. You see it you see it in criminal court. You see it in all the courts. I know New York State. I don't know your state. I know my state. All the courts. The judges are worried about the state. They are not worried about the individuals at all. They don't give a shit about any of us individuals at all. They go out of their way to devastate us. They go, well, the system, well, the law, well, the system, well, the law. How about the individual person who's being destroyed? Well, the system. They don't care. Why? Because they have no realistic chance of all of ever being affected by that system. None. They have no realistic chance of ever being affected by that system ever. They all have qualified immunity, and nobody would arrest them anyway unless they did something crazy. So they don't care at all. They don't care at all. I wish they did. They're supposed to. And the longer I spend in learning about the system and seeing how it works and being part of it, the more I can't stand it. The more I'm embarrassed by it. The more that I see how people get into a position of power and just go, I can't stop this thing. Who cares? And they start grifting. They grift because they realize, well, a lot of people say, I hear this all the time. They say things like, wait a minute, Larry, these people, when they must know things are bad, right? You can't be the only guy seeing this. They all know it's bad, right? And I go, yeah, they do. Well, then what are they doing? Why aren't they fixing it? I'll tell you why. Many of them realize there's empty heads and empty suits, the empty-headed ones. Many of the people who are our leaders are actually stupid. And I'm not joking when I mean they're not intelligent. Many of them are. They're just the right person, the right place, the right time, who will do what the elites tell them to do. Many of them are actually not very bright. I mean, like you look at them, they're like not bright. Some are very bright. Some are super intelligent. And those people I call empty suits. Those are people who've decided, oh, well, okay, I can't win doing anything else. Everyone else is grifting. Why don't I just grift? Let's all grift till the grifting's done. It's like people are looting the store before they burn the store down. That's kind of what's happening for a lot of people. Hey, let's loot the store. The store's going to be burned down. Let's loot it before it burns down. If we don't take it, it's going to burn. So let's just go do it. So a lot of that is what happens too. But I think we can change it. It will take time and energy. And more importantly, it takes us, individuals like us, going, no. I was talking to a buddy of mine years ago. We were talking about Iran. We were saying, when is it time for Iran to make a change? When should America care about Iran making a change, right? When should we really, talk about it or do something about it? When should we be involved in any way, shape, or form? And he said something that made sense to me. He said, when the cops refuse to do their jobs. I was like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, until the elites stop, until the forces of the elite stop doing their jobs, doesn't matter. As long as the cops are still going to arrest the people and the army is still going to crack down and the tanks are still going to fire on their own people, what do we care? We can't stop them. Who cares? Let them go. But once the troops stop going, wait a minute, do I really want to shoot my own people? Once the cops stop going, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not arresting these people. When that happens, we should care. And for those who don't know, in Tiananmen Square, back in 1989, the Chinese government was afraid of the uprising. They hadn't had this really happen before, like Tiananmen Square. It was so scary. I happened to be during Tiananmen Square. I happened to be out at sea at the time, in Marine. I was a Marine at the time, and we were all scared. Oh my God, are they gonna invade? Are we gonna have to go in and get Americans out? It was a bunch of scuttlebutt talking. None of it was true. But if you've been in the military on a ship before, you know that rumors go like nuts. So as soon as it started happening, Tiananmen Square, everyone was like, oh my God, we're going to have to go in and get everybody. We're all talking about it. We're going to suit up, get ready. Obviously, none of it was true, but that was the rumor that was going around on the ship at the time. Well, the Chinese were worried. They were afraid. And one of the reasons why it took so long for the Chinese to crack down is they didn't want to use local troops, because the Chinese were afraid. The Chinese leadership was afraid that if they brought in local troops might not do their job. They didn't know that. They were like, we don't want to gamble. So they had to bring in other troops like Mongolian troops or, Western Chinese troops to come in to make sure that they would actually put this down. That was one of the reasons why they did that. So yes, how do we fix this? By not complying eventually. I mean, not now. Non-compliance now doesn't help at all. It just puts you in jail, right? Because there's too many people who are just 100% on board with the system. They don't care. They're happy to put you in jail. In fact, one time during the COVID lockdowns, people said, "Aren't you afraid that eventually it's going to be guys, coming by in white vans and picking you up and going, you've got disease, or putting you in jail, whatever?" And I said, "No, I'm not afraid of those people." They're like, "What?" So people are going to come by in a van. I'm not afraid of those people. They said, "Why?" "I'm afraid of my neighbor who called them." There's far more of us than there are them. But if my neighbor is calling them on me, well, I'm finished. But if no one's going to call them on me, then I'm good. Because if our neighbors go, "No, you're not taking people, stop." "No, you're not." Eventually people stop, right? We know that. How do we know this? Well, look at what happened out west. They're trying to take that land from those guys out west. I don't want to say the name. I might get demonetized. But you know who I'm talking about out west. All of a sudden, a bunch of his boys had tools. I'll say tools. Is that the right word to use? That I'm demonetized. They had tools on those farms out west. And the government said, "You know what? We're going to walk away. We're not going to do this. We're going to walk away." Yeah, it does happen. So I think there is a way. I think we're on our way. And the third parties and the RFKs and the Vivek Ramaswamis and the Cornel Wests of the world, I think the Forward Party, the No Labels, I think all of these are very good indicators that we are on our way to making real change. I really hope that's true. Libertarian Lady says, "I don't think I've ever heard Larry Job cuss before." Yeah, I don't cuss that much. It's not a thing for me. I don't cuss that much, but I can. I was a Marine for many years. So I'm able to swear up a storm like all the rest of them. I usually don't. Generally speaking, I'm able to, if you notice my speech, it's rare that I do ums and ers. It's rare that I repeat myself. One of my problems I have is I speak too quickly, and that's my New York in me I can't get rid of. So I try to calm myself down in my speech speed, but it's so difficult. I've been doing it for so long, it's hard for me to slow down. But I'm also able to use to control my swearing. When I get excited, sometimes I don't. When I get angry, I think that's more than anything else. When I get angry, I want to swear, particularly when I feel like I'm talking to people who I know. And I know most of you who are here now, I've actually met at least once, if not multiple times. So I feel almost like I know you. So I feel more comfortable swearing, if it makes any sense. It's rare for me to do it in any type of professional environment. It's rare I'll do it on a campaign trail. It's very rare I'll do it, but sometimes, because I do get emotional. I am human. I do get emotional. I do get angry. And Pete does too. He said, "Let the MFer burn." And I think, you know what? I got to tell you, the longer I do this, the more I shift towards that mindset. I think people are calling it a collapsitarian. I understand it more. It's like, you know what? We just gotta let it fall, right? I think people feel that sometimes. I don't want to feel that, Pete. And the reason why I don't want to feel that is because of all the people who'll be hurt if it burns, right? Some people are bad people and probably deserve it, but most people aren't. And so many people will be hurt if it burns down. That's the part that bothers me so much, right? It's why I've talked about having a plan to audit then end the Fed versus just ending the Fed. Do I want to end the Fed? You know I do. Absolutely I do. If I had a choice of not ending it or ending it automatically 1 second, pushing the button, I'd push the button. But if I have a choice, I'd rather have audit than plan to end. Why? Because our entire system is built upon massive debt. And if we end the Fed tomorrow, there'll be so much disruption and so much pain, and mostly by people who are of lower socioeconomic status. I'd rather not punish them if I have a choice, right? I'd rather have a system and a plan to end the Fed and say 3 to 5 years. That would give people a chance of buffering themselves against the massive upheaval that would happen if we just ended it. Now, that if my choice was only end or not end, I would take the end, right? If those are my only choices. But I hope my choice is, here's the audit and plan to end it so that we can make as little pain as possible. If we let it burn, there's a lot of pain. And I'd rather not have so much pain if I have an option. So I hope that makes sense. She goes on to say, we are a family. I definitely cuss in front of my family and friends because I feel comfortable. Yep, there we go. Yes. Legacy says, embrace your individual self, Larry. I try to. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Andrew says, we and Britain messed up in Iran, messed up big time in Iran. That's a given. Yes. Even now, right? And I say this all, people say, what are you going to do about Iran? They're terrible and they're going to do this. They're going to bomb everybody. Okay, they're not. If we wanted to fix Iran, we don't. We can still do it even now. And we made, to your point, Andrew, massive mistakes. All we had to do in 1979, 1980 is just do one thing. Leave Iran alone. That's it. Nothing else. Don't let the Shah into our country, right? Like Jimmy Carter did. Say, no, it's political issues. There's your political issues. Fix yourself, whatever you got to do, and leave them alone. That's all. Not like them, hate them, nothing. Leave them alone. Individual Iranian people love Americans and America. And if you know them, absolutely. They love America and Americans. They hate our government, and their government hates us. But individual Iranians, they don't care. Like, yeah, America's fine. They don't care. They like us, right? If we would just leave them alone, 20 years later, they'd be our trading partner. How do I know that? We spent 10 years destroying Vietnam, bombing them, killing them, destroying their livestock. We wrecked that country for 10 years. We wrecked Vietnam for 10 years. 20 years after we left, they were our trading partner. Right now, you can buy furniture from Vietnam if you want to. They are our trading partner. And we physically wrecked that country. We raped that country for 10 years. And they're still our trading partner now. All way to do, Andrew, is just leave Iran alone. 20 years later, we'd be trading partners with them. What's our answer right now? Leave them alone. Just leave them alone. But Larry, they're going to attack Israel. No, they're not. Israel is the most powerful country in the Middle East with nuclear weapons and the most powerful economy in the Middle East. Iran is not going to conquer Israel. Now, there was a chance back in like the 60s, 70s that Israel was going to get wiped off the map. That was real back then. Those days are long gone. Israel is now fine. No one's taking them off the map. Nobody's pushing them into the sea. That is not happening. If that ever could happen again, okay, let's talk about it then. That is not now. That makes you upset. I don't care. It's just true. Iran is not going to push Israel into the sea. It's not going to destroy Israel. It's not going to invade Israel. That's not going to happen. Again, Israel, most powerful army, most powerful economy, nuclear weapons. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. So leave Iran alone. Leave them alone. 20 years from the day we leave them alone, stop all the stupid embargoes. Just stop. 20 years from that day for sure, they will be our trading partners. It'll be fine. No more chance for war. They'll be our trading partners. Right now, they're Russia's trading partner. It's instantly done. I'm sorry, I went long on that, but thank you, Andrew. Yes, absolutely, yes. That's, yeah. Anyway, Pete says we need to allow her to show up swear jar. Then I'll stop swearing. Yes. So guys, do me a favor, click the like button. It does matter. I know I bug you all the time. If you're watching, click that button. It does matter. Share if you're watching on Twitter. Please retweet it. Share if you're watching it on Facebook. You can always super chat me on YouTube. Support me on Patreon if you want to support me for the show. You're going to support my endeavor, my quest for ballot access in New York State. Then please go to LarrySharpe.com. Donate there as much as you can to make that happen. Any way you can support does matter. Please do that. It is important. It does matter. I do this because I love it, but I also do it because it matters, and it's the only way we can make change. Being popular matters, And the more you share, the more you support, the more popular we are, the more we get to see what's happening. Anyway, guys, I say thank you so much for tonight. I'm coming on next Monday night. I have a show at my Sharp Club show, 9 p.m. Yes, with 4 amazing people. Please tune in, 9 p.m. next Monday. And then all next week, I will be at Freedom Fest in Memphis, Tennessee. If you can be out there, please come by my booth and see me. I will be at the Sharp Way booth doing interviews, talking to people, meeting people. I'll be on the main stage on Saturday. We'll be having a great time. I will see you all very soon.